Hey everyone, it's been an exciting day today in the markets. We had a blowout performance in the equity space with the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the Nasdaq, everything rallying. But the same can't necessarily be said about the crypto space, in which we've had a bit of a rally, but not as strong as what we've been seeing in the stock market itself and even some of the commodities. So we're going to go through a bunch of the coins here. I'll have charts for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and possibly Bitcoin Cash in the description below. So feel free to check those out there. But we're going to start off mainly with Bitcoin and touch on some of the other altcoins and some of the crypto miners as well to give us a better idea of what we expect in the near future. So this is Bitcoin, the 15-minute chart, and we've averted several crash setups over the past several weeks. Ever since our overall bottom on May 12th, we've had several fake rallies, although we haven't had any sustained downside action. What I'm calling here the first wave is actually this would be our first wave up. So you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in diagonal fashion. So that does count as a leading diagonal because of the overlap and the fact that the fourth wave overlapped the first wave top, and each internal wave structure, each one looks like a zigzag. There isn't anything clearly impulsive here, but I'll take it. Looks like 5 up. And we had some downside setups several times. I'm not going to go into detail with those, but we hit a significant bottom on May 26th. It wasn't a lower low, but rather a higher low. So that would definitely count as potentially our second wave pullback. So again, if you have our first wave counted here, and this is our second wave, we hit almost a 61.8% retrace. That gives us a nice setup. And then we had a nice blow off. And while this, the shape isn't the best, but you could count this as a 1, 2, maybe a 3, 4, 5. If you count it that way, it definitely counts as a 5-wave impulse up. And if you recall the big picture chart in Bitcoin, we had a bit of a small, shallow fourth wave. I might as well show it here. This was during the rally of 2020 through 2021. We had our fourth wave hit about here, very small, not too noticeable. So again, because Elliott Wave patterns are fractal in nature, we may be seeing something of that sort here. Now, our nested 1, 2 did go a little bit higher than ideal. It's possible that we could have a overextended first wave. Again, remember the log chart is projecting much more upside overhead. So it's possible we do have an oversized first wave and a second wave. And in addition, we have what we call the pivot zone. That's the 0.618 and 0.764 extensions of the larger 1, 2. If you get through the top of that, it is very, well, it basically invalidates that this could be a fifth wave top. So either you're in the bigger third wave up or it's a C wave. So until we break through that, we still have some work to do, but since we bounced back down from that, I'm counting this whole thing as this nested 1, 2 setup, and we should be looking for some pretty explosive rallying from here, unless we have a little bit lower to go, which we could. We're not going to invalidate this till about 28,000, and that would take us into the third wave of our third, which should take us at least to 34,000. We could see this thing go to 35,000. The overall bigger third wave could take us up to between 36,000, 37,000 Bitcoin, with an eventual 5-wave top around $38,000 to $40,000. We'll look at that on the bigger picture chart in just a second. There is the ominous downside setup in place as well. This is an A, B, C in red. It still fits the proportions, although the C wave is a bit small for that to be the case. If that is the case, we could count this as 5 down. It's not a very nice looking impulse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't fully believe it. Maybe this is the fourth wave and we have a fifth wave lower. We'll see what it does, but I'm going to leave this on the chart just so we don't forget what it might look like. Ethereum story is similar. I don't have as much labeling on here, but it's the exact same situation. We went a bit deeper in our retrace, which is typical for Ethereum. We've been seeing very sharp pullbacks and delayed rallies in Ethereum. That's just the nature of it relative to Bitcoin. But here too, we have a bigger 1, 2 setup and a nested 1, 2. And in this situation, this nested 1, 2 actually fits the proportions a little bit better, a little bit more credible as a nested 1, 2. So if that's the case, our bigger third wave should take us past $2,300, as far up as 2465, with our final fifth wave coming between 25 and 2644. That would again be a larger impulsive 5-wave structure. And once we have the second wave pullback from that, that would allow us to project where we would be going, bigger picture. Now, before I shift on to the long-term picture, I'm going to go over Bitcoin Cash and some of the other altcoins. Bitcoin Cash I use frequently as a proxy for the rest of the altcoin space because they all seem to follow very similar patterns. Although I'm going to touch on some of the others. Dash specifically, it's looking a little different. But here too, we have a clear diagonal 5-wave rally. We had a deep pullback, which is what you expect, a higher low. That was again on May 27th. and a nested 1-2 setup. Here too, this looks more legitimate proportion wise. We didn't break the 0.61 extension. So if this thing holds together with these deep retraces, we should start tearing upwards very soon. Bitcoin Cash could be getting us past 257 relatively quick. I did an update on this just yesterday, so check that video out if you want more detail on Bitcoin Cash. Now going through some of the other altcoins, same kind of setup. We have 5 up, although the location of the 5th wave high varies depending on what coin you're looking at. Here we had a much later 5th wave high, and we may be in the middle of a C wave of a larger A, B, C correction for the wave 2. When we skip over to Dash, this had an even more delayed 5th wave top, or maybe that is just a really big first wave. So it actually makes more sense like this. I didn't update my chart, but that means that we have a much bigger nested 1-2 setup. So again, 5 waves up for the first wave, second wave down, and a smaller degree first wave here, second wave down, with our third wave taking us potentially a good bit higher, $75+. Our overall third wave could take us to $83 to $88 with a final top for the 5th wave around $91 to $96. That is Dash. And I'm going to look at Stellar Lumens real quick. Same kind of pattern. This looks more like what we're seeing in Dash with a much higher high more recently, which actually broke through our pivot zone. So interesting development from Stellar Lumens. Maybe it'll run ahead, although it did pull back very sharply. So that is in question. And finally, EOS. We have that box overhead, and actually this is no longer valid because we had a lower low. So this box actually moves a little bit lower. So our pivot zone starts around, what is that, about $1.43 and ends around $1.49. So that is the box through which we must rally to continue our upside action to confirm it. So shifting to the big picture chart is what we have on Bitcoin. Looking at it big picture, well, we're still in the box. We had a sharp pullback, but we're building something here, right? Got a 1-2, 1-2. You can clearly see it. Sharp pullback, but this is expected. We saw the same thing in the stock market indices as well, in which we a couple times have had very sharp second wave pullbacks. It just helps get the sentiment reset, but we still have a lot of upside ahead of us. So we need to get in the box overhead. I don't remember exactly what I said for Bitcoin. The linear chart is projecting a top for this impulse, somewhere between $38,000 and $40,000. Big picture chart is looking for something a little bit higher because we typically want to see, well, we expect to see a mirror image of what we saw in the downswing here. So the B wave top here, or actually that'll be the 4th wave top here. Expect the first wave to get up here. So we may extend a little higher than what we're seeing in the linear chart. It's possible because the projections are different on the log chart. And the same thing has happened in the stock market, in which we have hyperextended. Speaking of which, this is what we're looking like in the ES mini futures, which represents the S&P 500. Had a nice 1-2 setup, perfect impulse, perfect pullback, 61.8% retrace, textbook perfect. And then we just blasted all the way past the 1.764 extension for our third wave alone, which indicates that our 5th wave may go higher. Now, because cryptos do trade around the clock, they're 24 hours, we may see some catch-up action happen into the overnight hours, maybe even over this coming weekend, just because the stock market had to run ahead. It doesn't trade over the weekend. So that is for Bitcoin, of course. Ethereum, same kind of thing. You can kind of see, I know it's zoomed out a little bit, clear rally up and a down. So we're looking for a little bit more bullish action. It's not the most encouraging looking chart, but remember, we didn't crash as hard in Ethereum as we did in some of the other coins. Altcoins, Bitcoin Cash, we looked at this up close. I did the update yesterday. Same story, got a nested 1-2, 1-2. So we need to start seeing some action relatively soon on that. Ethereum Classic, this is the one I would keep my eye on if you want to see an initial indication of some bullishness, because Ethereum Classic has a habit of exploding into the heavens whenever we have a rally. If you guys remember this, seems like ancient history. March, we had a big blow off C wave rally for our bigger 4th wave. Then we crashed back down to earth. Expect this thing to really go off on a tear if we do get our 3rd wave in earnest going forward from here. That's Ethereum Classic. Dash, went over this as well relatively recently. I released a video on this, I think 2 nights ago. You can see we're still in that purple box. We need to see some bullish action pretty soon. And if we do, expect to see some nicer looking structures, although this rally structure is questionable. I went over why I think it's a little sketchy in my other video, so check that out if you're curious. Stellar Lumens actually looks a lot better right now than some of these other altcoins. Have a clear 1-2 setup, and that means that we either have 3 more waves up, or this is just a big A, B, the C wave rally coming. We'll see what we end up getting. Again, this does look a little bit different from a lot of the other coins, but we're well above our retracement box for the crash bottom. And finally, EOS, remember that black hole? Seems like ancient history. I have, of course, reformulated this chart, which clearly angered some of my viewers. They were, I think, angry that I changed the big picture pattern, which you have to do when you break a support. That means this is not a 1-2. This is an A, B, and a C wave. We may or may not be done with it, but that means that we should have one more rally left based on this reinterpretation. So this is the actual wave 2 bottom. And well, it could also be the wave 4 bottom. The primary is that this is a wave 4 bottom with one more rally to go. Again, when the data changes, you must change your mind. You must change your patterns, because if you cling onto beliefs, it's a great way to get absolutely killed and smoked. Now, the last thing I'm going to touch on is the crypto miners. I just recently released a video on this as well over the past weekend. Check that out if you'd like. It is about Riot Blockchain and Marathon Digital Holdings, tickers for which are Riot and Mara, M-A-R-A. When we look at Riot up close, this thing does have what could be 5 waves up and 3 waves down, very clear. And we may have that nested 1-2 here as well, just like we're seeing in the crypto space. The timing is a little bit different, in which we had a lower low hit on May 26th. But if you watch that video, I did mention that these stocks seem to, well, they seem to align better with the stock market than they do with the cryptos. So again, could be some bullish action. Same thing here. This is like clear 4th wave, 5th wave up, A, B, C down, and we may have a nested 1-2 setup in place. So exciting times here. Again, I'm really looking forward and very excited about some of the options and leverage plays we can make with these blockchain stocks, but I'm not going to cover that too much on this video, because again, we are focusing on the cryptos. So that is the state of the cryptos. Subscribe so that you don't miss any continuing updates. And if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.